Hey, what's up everybody? So this is a live developer help session if you haven't attended one before. We just started these yesterday. Basically, for the next 30 to 45 minutes, however long I'm available for, I'll be answering questions, but also helping with any code problems. So obviously I can't help with like building entire projects or anything like that, but if you have something that you've been having difficulty with, a bug or an error that you want me to take a look at, let me know in the chat. Also worth mentioning, my channel should now have Superchat available, so if you're familiar with that, definitely consider supporting the channel in that way. Anything is appreciated, obviously. So I'm just going to hang out and wait until someone asks for help in the live chat, and then we'll go from there. Thanks. Hey, Prime Blood, how's it going? Alright, so we'll start with the first one from Patel. I've just started the Node.js course. What are they used for and why? So you're probably talking about either my course or Colt's course. Either way, they're similar. Colt's is kind of a precursor to mine, but Node.js is essentially a back-end language for writing JavaScript for building web applications. It's not just for web applications. For our course or for Colt's course, he's using it to build web apps or websites. A web app is basically just a website with like dynamic functionality. It allows users to sign up and input data and have that data manipulated and rendered out in certain ways that are useful to them. So there's a ton of different use cases for Node. Node is just one of the tools for the job. There's other back-end languages out there like Ruby and Python and a whole host of other ones. But Node is pretty popular. It continues to be popular. It's fairly easy to learn and get started with. And so that's why Colt chose it. But yeah, in the context of the course, you'll be learning how to make web applications. Harmon, Kimura, what's up? So you followed the fuzzy search and you have a question. So I want to create input buttons that are directly linked with some objects so I can single them out or lump them together. Kind of stuck. How would you go about this problem? So input buttons, like, do you want checkboxes or radio buttons? What are you talking about specifically? And also, do you have an example of what you're talking about? Is there another website that does what you're talking about that you can like share a link to me with so I can take a look at it? Michael, I'm doing well, thank you. Good to see you again. Appreciate you stopping by. Mariano, hello. Raymond, how's it going? Is it Raymond or Ramon? Mariano just made their first website for a business, and that's awesome. Congratulations. Raymond, go ahead and share the or is it ramen, like ramen noodles? Let me know the pronunciation on your name, but go ahead and share the link for the site so I can look at it. Mike, I do not have experience with graph data. If you're talking about like GraphQL, I haven't worked with that. Alright, so going back, so I'm not skipping anybody. So I have a problem where I'm trying to log in with the user account that already exists. My backend responds as expected with an error. When I check the Chrome Developer Tools under XHR, I can see it. The format error is error message. Sorry that username and or email is taken. However, in my front end, catch error is undefined. Do you have any idea? Yeah, it just depends on... Sick drone. Sorry, I get distracted so easily. You saw my drone. My wife, my beautiful, amazing wife, got this awesome drone for us for Christmas, and it's been a lot of fun. Alright, going back to your question about the error. Danny, I would need to see the front end handling of the error. So it may just be that the way that you're doing the error handling is such that the front end is not getting access to the error that's happening on the back end. So if you have GitHub or Gorm IDE or some way for me to see your application, and you don't mind me showing it here, then like here in the live chat while I'm working on it, then let me know. If you're on Discord, you can send me the link to it there. You don't have to share it here publicly so that other people can access it, obviously. You can direct message me. Yeah, just direct message me on Discord if you have Discord. If you don't, you should definitely get it because Discord's awesome. Also, for everybody that's here, I just got the Superchat enabled on this channel, so if you want to contribute to the channel in any way, check it out. Alright, so prom finished 2 full courses of JavaScript. So someone that says that they've completed 2 full courses in JavaScript and still can't feel comfortable or can't feel I understand other people's code. It just depends. Like, what kind of projects are you looking at? Are you looking at other people's GitHub, like source code? Like across the board, you can't understand people's code because code isn't. It's not necessarily like reading a book where you'll just look at it and be like, oh, that's that, that's that, that. Especially if you didn't write it, because people have different styles of writing code. So, for instance, I'm currently working on, but almost done with, a PHP project where the PHP script was written by another developer, and it's this really big script. And I was able to implement that and then go and customize stuff. And just looking at his code, as the developer that made the original script, it's like, it takes me some time to figure out, like, okay, this is going on with this or that. So I wouldn't expect you or anyone else to just like look at code unless you're a seasoned, 20+ year vet, and just be like, oh, that's what's happening. Some code that's well written, well formatted, well commented, things like that may be easier to read than others, but don't like get down on yourself if you're having difficulty reading other people's code, especially if you're looking at like open source code and you're looking at like the source for a library or something. A lot of times that code is super over optimized, not all the time obviously, but in some cases where it's just kind of cryptic, like the variable names and stuff are hard to read and things like that. So Neo4j, I have not heard of that one. So engineer, you're trying to use S3 bucket for storing input files from users with Node and Multer. So I have a image upload with Cloudinary tutorial. Basically, Multer is going to work the same way across the board, where if you're using Node and then you're using EJS or something, if you're not using like React on the front end, you're going to use Multer to get access to multi-part data from the form. And then once you have that data, and you can use it on the front end if you're doing AJAX calls, or the back end if you're just using regular HTTP requests, once you have the file or files in question, then you would want to send it to S3. So S3 is probably going to have an npm package, like a wrapper, which basically is just a package that allows you to easily plug in like your AWS secret keys and API keys and whatnot. And then once you have that, you should be able to send requests with that file. And then obviously it'll store it there, it'll send some data back to you. In that case, it'll probably have like a URL to access the file publicly, and then you'll take that and you'll store it in whatever the resource is. So I don't have a tutorial for it, and that is something that would take probably a while to walk through if I was to help you like here on the live developer help. But if you had it on like Gorm IDE or something and you're like most of the way there, but you need some help like getting over some bugs or something, that's where I could come in and jump on your workspace and be able to help you out. Or if you had a GitHub repo, you could share with me and things like that. So if you're on Discord and you want additional help, just reach out to me there and we can figure it out. As far as tutorials, again, I'm not aware of any. I would look at the documentation for AWS or the npm package, the GitHub page for the npm package for an AWS S3 npm package. So Mariano, yeah, I'll check it. It's fine if it's in Spanish. I don't speak a lot of Spanish, but I'd be happy to look at it and I don't have to understand everything that's written on the page. Not swing, yeah, it's fine to skip the Bootstrap 3 section and start with Bootstrap 4. So yeah, Prime Blood. What would you do in your situation to get a job? I mean, it's good that you have, what do you say, a Flutter development experience. That's good, and you're learning JavaScript from Colt's course. So I would finish Colt's course. You have an offline app with 2,000 users. That in and of itself is something that's really good to put on your portfolio. So yeah, make sure that you put that on your portfolio and highlight, any lessons that you learned along the way, any difficulties that you struggled with or problems that you overcame. That kind of project with a large amount of users is going to look really good on your portfolio. So step 1, continue with Colt's course. Learn what you can from that. But 2, when you're working on getting a job, definitely include any projects like the offline app that you mentioned in your portfolios, in your resume, so that employers can know that you have experience with that sort of stuff. Raj, can I ask a question on Python? Yeah, you can. I don't write a lot of Python, but I'd be happy to look at whatever it is. Hysteria, yeah, no, you're not hopeless. Okay, so it looks like Armin was able to send me something on Discord. Let me go look. And I'll pull it up in a second. I just don't want to expose anything on Discord. So let me go back up here and look at Armin's. So you want to create input buttons that are directly linked with some objects, so I can single them out or lump them together and kind of stuff. Okay. Alright, so give me a second. And guys, if you have a question that you really want answered, and it's getting like lost in the chat or something like that, feel free to check out what do they call it? I just got to add a Superchat. It basically like pins your chats, your comments, so I can see it above everybody else's. That would give you priority, and that would be a way to help support the channel. Okay, so looking at this website that you've shared with me, are you talking about these buttons at the top, Armin? So I can like show what I'm looking at here. Hold on. Okay, so are you talking about these buttons right here? Also, let me turn off these like buttons that are basically filtering out stuff. So actually, I have something similar in this project right here, where there's all these buttons, and it just filters out stuff. And so like this one here, show all, in my case everything, and in this case animation. So it's essentially the same exact thing. The animations are different. This one has some really fancy animations. Mine has some animations too. But anyway, is that what you're trying to do? Yeah, precisely. Okay, cool. So what have you done so far? Because what I have, basically I used a pre-made theme and then I just customized it to get the source code for these buttons right here. Pretty sure that something like this was already in here, and then I just customized it. But anyway, it's pretty complex. Probably would take longer than I have time for this live help. So now that you have me on Discord, let's just chat back and forth, and I'll like send you the source code for this, or send you the original theme, so you can kind of see an example of how it's done. And then if you want, you can take that and implement it into your original project. I'm gonna make another scene real quick so I can just no. How do I duplicate? Alright, I'll figure that out later. In the meantime, just pull this back up. Alright, so I'm going to jump back in the chat here and just get caught up with what's going on here. Alright, so Danny just sent me a link to the repo. So let me go back to your original thing. Oh yeah, the error. Okay, cool. And then Danny, are you okay if I throw it up on the screen so that people can see the code while we're looking at it? So while I wait for your response, I'm gonna go find the okay, cool. Alright, so it looks like you're okay with me showing this code. So let me get the screen popped back up. Whoop, sorry. Okay, so we'll look at the, I think you said at the server, let's just see what you have here. So you got routes for messages, get message, delete message. These are coming from handlers. Over here, messages. I'm assuming this is relating to the messages, right? Let me just go look up at your. So try to log in with the user account that already exists. Oh, right. Yeah. That's what the user account said, being the auth. Okay. All right. So let's go look at the handlers for the auth. Sign in. This is. Oh, I see. Okay. So you find the user, and then if there's a match. There is a match, sign create JWT token. So I'm assuming it's falling into one of these two right here, either a issue with the whole try catch, and I think you said in your chat that it was related to the try catch. Responses, so they want to get the Chrome developer release. I can see it. Catch it. Okay. Alright, so either way, it's coming from one of these two. It's going to next, and it's passing in an error object with status 400, and then message invalid email password. Let's go check out the client. Well, real quick before we go to the client. If it's going to next, it's probably getting handled in index.js. Error handler, which is coming from handler's error. So I'll go back one more time to server, handlers. I just want to see how you're doing this. Yeah, so then it's just checking if there's already a status, it takes 400, otherwise, or whatever the status may be, and then otherwise 500, and then sends JSON as a response, so res.status 400.json error message, and then telling the user what's wrong. Okay, so in this case, let's go look at the client for login and see source. So let's start in index.js. If you want to tell, okay, so that's just the rendering. This is a React app. Okay, cool. Services, API call, nope. Source, components, auth form. There we go. Cool. Handle change, handle submit, auth type, sign up, sign in, pop on auth, so I think it's all logged in. Alright, so my question for you is, where is the error handling supposed to be happening for the auth on the front end in the client? And just let me make sure I turn off the display. gonna move my monitors around a little bit so that I can. All right, that's not gonna work. See what you're saying down here without it getting displayed all over the screen. Alright, so jumping back into here, the problem is in auth.js and source store actions auth.js. Awesome, thank you. So let's go look at source store actions auth. Okay, so function auth user, type user data, return dispatch, return new promise, resolve, reject, return API call, post, API auth, type user data, then token user catch error. So the problem is that you're not catching the error right here in dispatch. And so I would try to run your app, but I don't have a React environment set up to like very easily run this and see live code. So what I would recommend to you is, I think what may be happening is if the back end is sending an error and you're not catching it on the front end in this catch right here, then that tells me that it might possibly be in the then statement. So I would throw a debugger right here above local storage set item jot token, and then open up your Chrome console with the debugger keyword in there. Send that request and see if it pauses in the .then. If it does, then check out this object that you're getting right here to see what is coming back from the server. And if it's that error message, then you know for whatever reason it's getting caught by the .then as opposed to the .catch. So give that a try and let me know how it goes. Okay, so you're saying you do catch it, but error is undefined. It says cannot read property message of undefined. Okay, so it is throwing an error, but you're not getting the error object. Interesting. How would you feel about doing a video call, and I would throw it up on the screen where you would show me your screen, a screen share. You don't have to show your face. Over on Discord, so I can see exactly what you're getting, and then I can kind of coach you from there. I'm like trying to find a good place for my microphone while also being able to see my other monitor. So let me know if you want to. Yeah, okay, cool. So I'm gonna call you real quick, and we'll see if this all works out. And I'm gonna disable my camera, and then I'm gonna mute because you can probably already hear me through YouTube. And then if you want to share your screen, go ahead, do that, and then say something. Let me see if your microphone's working. Hey, yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Okay, it's probably going to be delayed like a second or so because of the stream. So, in fact, I'll unmute it here, and then if that's like annoying for you or whatever, just let me know. Yeah, perfect. Okay, good. All right. So let me go ahead. Do you mind if I pop this screen sharing up? Let me just make sure you don't have anything like on your screen that you don't want, the whole world to see. All right. Well, let me go ahead and pull this up so everyone else can see what we're looking at. And okay, all right. So it's catching there. Yeah, that's weird. Have you used the debugger keyword before? Interesting. Okay, so yeah, look at the preview or the response. Oh, it's in, you might have to unpause debugger for it to finish loading. There we go. Okay, so there it says error message. So it's an object, and it has an error keyword. So, but the problem is that it's error appears to be in JSON, so you might have to parse it to be able to access the message from it. Well, yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing that's confusing me is that yeah. So save it and refresh. Go ahead and go back to the save that file. Let's go back to the Chrome console, and then yeah, you've got your network all cleared out. So let's run it and see what happens. Okay, so then sign up gives you the 400. And that was the XHR request. And what happens when you click on preview? Yeah. So that's weird. It's there, but it's not catching the error. Alright, so I'm going to pull back up your source code real quick so I can see it more quickly. One thing that I would do, if you want to jump over to the chat and just watch what I'm doing on the screen here, is back over in the server, because I don't think it's a question of like the server not working properly, because it seems like it is. Oh, it's back in the server handler error. Okay. Yeah, so here's that error, and then it has the message. Let me check. Error codes HTTP. You're doing a 400 for an invalid username. So yeah, I would almost think that it would need to be, I mean, 400 is probably fine, and I don't know that it would matter what code you put in there. I would be tempted to try it with the 500 just for the heck of it, just to like throw something at it and see if it changes anything. It probably won't, but you never know. Yeah, so since we don't know, oh, interesting. Well, I'm wondering which of the, let me go back and look at that page that you're on real quick. So it's going to be under handlers auth, right? Yeah, so you have, oh, so the one that you just changed is actually inside of signup. Oh, right. My bad. We are doing the sign up for whatever reason. I thought we were doing sign in. Okay, so you have two. Is it like the one before it has two? Try catch status JSON error code. I see the error code is you're checking to see if it's username email from Mongoose. Yeah. Error message, and then you're just passing in instead. Yeah, okay, so try changing it to 500 right there on line 72. And again, I don't know that that will make a difference, but it'd be interesting to see how that changes things. So it still cannot read. And so the property message of undefined isn't the error that I would expect. I would expect it to say that, because the object that's coming back that you would be getting from ERR, the variable, would be an object with the keyword error for the first key, and then so it would be error, ERR dot ERROR dot message. But that's, so I mean, you can change that on line 24, but in the client, but I don't, because it's saying the error itself is undefined. That's what's throwing me off. I'm like, I don't understand. But then we're seeing it in the Chrome console. And real quick, I'm just going to jump back while you're working on that and see if anybody has any suggestions. Yeah, so I'm seeing a couple different questions and suggestions, but they're not necessarily what we need. It's just kind of people trying to figure out what's going on. Well, the name of the variable in the client where you're no, yeah, that doesn't matter. That could be taco if you want it to be. Still going to point to the error. And so let's take a closer look at this client code and see where am I? Close that. And this is the, I'm just going to go ahead and duplicate it so I can have them both open at the same time. What course is this from? Oh, cool. Do they have the solution code that you can... It's exactly the same? Really? Alright, well, we won't get into that then. Okay, so, and you said this is from the Advanced Developer Bootcamp? Yeah. Oh, so I've got some, just real quick, some news for everyone that's here, all 18 of you, and anyone that watches it later. If you're coming from Colt Steele's the Web Developer Bootcamp, his original bootcamp, Colt specifically is going to be adding some new content soon. So you are the first people to hear it. I just heard it yesterday for the first time. But yeah, something to look forward to. I don't know exactly what he's going to be adding, but and who knows? Hopefully it'll be like more or less like a revamp of all the older content. But that's to be determined, so we'll see. All right, so back in your auth.js, auth user, type user return. So this is a function auth user. And then you're exporting this, so you're using this in another file, I guess, whatever, whenever in the component, whenever it gets submitted. Yeah, okay, cool. So then return dispatch, return new promise, resolve or reject, return API call. So API call is something that you're pulling in from the services API. That sends the request to the back end. So I'm going to look at that here in a second and see if I can glean anything from it. You have a dot then to resolve whatever comes back from the API call, and then you have a dot catch. Say again. So this dot then block is working as expected. So it's just the dot catch. I have like one other thing I kind of want to try. So let me, or two things really. First, let me look at services API. I just want to take a look at that code so I can get familiar with how you're making the API call. So you're using Axios, which might possibly have something to do with it. So here you're making the, I wonder if, so return reject, can you put a debugger on line 11 right above where this return is? And then I'm going to jump back over to Discord and watch as that happens. Yeah, right there, just right below catch error, above return reject. Perfect. And then we'll run it and see what happens. Okay, there we are. Perfect. Now look at error. Go to console and type ERR. Yeah, it just, oh no, not that one. Just the ERR variable. So it's showing something. All right, so it's an error object. Request failed with status 500 at create error JS. Line 16. So do you have, is that something, let's see here. Right, and that's fine. You could, yeah, you could probably put it back to 400 because I don't think that is necessarily what's giving us the trouble. I think it's somewhere between the API function and then the auth function. So like right here it looks like we're getting access to, but then what you're doing is you're saying return reject error.response.data.error. Try just saying return ERR, and then yeah, so don't even reject, just return ERR. No, without the well, you try it this way first. That's fine. That's totally fine. Try it this way first, and let's see what happens. And so, oh yeah, Discord. There we go. Okay. So let's run it. Alright, so it stops there. Go ahead and hit the blue next button. Now it's caught in the other one. Okay, so now you have access to the error, but it's, I mean, it's this error object, request failed. But I don't know if you have access. So this object that you're looking at is like an actual error object. So I'm wondering how you're going to get access to go to the console and do console.dir and then pass ERR. Yeah. And then press that little arrow. Cool. So there is, let's see here. Response status text. Where's some to JSON? What's that? Oh, there we go. It's a function that you can call. So what if you do error.toJSON and then it should turn it. Yeah, do ERR dot. Yeah, perfect, and then invoke it. Bam, there it is. There's the message, and that's all you need at this point. So now if you go back, and mind you, oh right, that's not the same. That's yeah. Okay, cool. I thought I just saw the correct message a second ago, but maybe I was wrong. Yeah, let's go back up to the console dir that you did a second ago and just look at that a little bit closer. Okay, so It is just doing a message failed with status code 400. So, click on data, response data. There it is. There it is. So it's error dot, well, it's error dot to JSON dot response dot data dot message. So so there we can make it work, but I'm wondering if there's like a better right way to do it. So to make it work like right now, let's go ahead and well, first you got to convert it to JSON. Oh no, wait, no you don't. I think it's just error.response. You're right. Error.response.data. Error.message. So say data. So yeah, but maybe it should have been dispatch error.data.error instead of just error.error. So if you want to just take it, take it. Yeah, yes. So get rid of lines 25 through 26. I'm actually having difficulty reading the line numbers because of the quality of the video. Okay, cool. Yeah, so you should be able to get rid of the debugger and those two comments, and then see if dispatching error.data.error will work. So that's an Axios. You want to get rid of that debugger. No, that's fine. Go ahead and press error.response. That looks like the old code. Did it get updated? Let's go look at the code real quick. So right now you're inside of auth. Go back to the API file. So that's where you're going to want to do error.response.data.error. So the code that you put inside of the auth file is actually the code that you'll want inside of the so that's this. Alright, so yeah, that right there, that file that you're on, get rid of the debugger, and then that's going to be error.response.data.error. And then over in the other one, that one's going to be error.message. And so as long as we're accessing it correctly in the API.js file, then it should work with what you've got going on there. Yeah, absolutely, man. Appreciate you coming on. And now you can help the other students in the course, so let them know. Yep. Alright, no problem. Cheers. Take it easy. Alright, jumping back over to the live stream. We did it! For those of you that are still here watching, consider checking out the super chat. I just got it added today, so if you want to support the channel in that way, it'd be appreciated. Alright, so I think that's gonna do it. I'm gonna skim through and just see if there's any like questions that I can answer, but as far as like doing another like live help like we just did, we'll have to wait until the next session because we're already going on 45 minutes, so I don't have that much time. So I'm gonna run through here, see if there's any questions I can answer, and then we're gonna get out of here. Again, thanks everyone that's hanging out and that's watching. And if you need help in the future, just keep an eye out for these live developer help sessions. And yeah, let me check for questions. Alright. Is there any way to use MySQL with Passport and Express sessions? Yes, there is. I'm just looking real quick. I see if I have. I used to have something. So there's a tutorial. There's a couple different tutorials out there. I'll just share them with you real quick. So here's one, and that's what SQLized, by the way. And then here is a GitHub gist with Passport using MySQL, so you can look through that and see if it's useful for you. Okay. What courses do you recommend to a new developer who has finished Colt Steele's Web Developer Bootcamp, considering JavaScript, understanding the weird parts on Udemy, and a React course? Yeah, that's a good course, Raghav. If you've not been to my site already, you can find some other courses that I recommend. I just shared it in the chat. And whoa, Danny, thank you so much for the super chat. That's awesome. First super chat. Yay, yay. Appreciate it. That's so cool. Alright, so jumping back up here. Yeah, I just shared the link to top-rated tech courses that are all from Udemy. So check those out if you're looking for another course to learn. If you don't want to spend any money, then my Code with Node course, of course, is free. And it's a good follow-up to Colt's course. So if you're looking for a follow-up to Colt's course, something to kind of bolster your knowledge of Node.js in the back end, check out Code with Node, Learn by Doing on Udemy or on DevSprout. Alright, next question. Role-based authentication using MERN-stack. That's you'll need to take a course or find a tutorial for that. Unfortunately, it's not something I can answer very quickly or easily here. Best way to call a Python script from another Python script in a separate thread so that I can call the script separately for different users. I wouldn't be able to tell you. That's a pretty complicated question. So I want to calculate total number of documents in multiple collection, MongoDB, in same route, and pass it to template. How do I do it? Total number of documents of multiple collection. I think there's a method that can return the total number of documents from Mongoose, or just doesn't matter. It's backwards compatible if you can find it with MongoDB. I know you can just do a .count, which may be what you want to use, but there might be another one. So check out .count, and I think it's collection.count, or in your case model.count if you're using Mongoose, and that should. I don't think you have to do a .find.count. There should be a way to just count without doing a .find. That way you're not like querying the entire database. You're just getting that number. So, question about NPM package vulnerabilities. If I ship a website for a customer today with no NPM package vulnerabilities, and 2 months later NPM package vulnerabilities are discovered, how should I resolve this? You should have your local development, right? You should have a testing server, so basically a replica of the production server, but specifically for testing out your shipped application. That way, if stuff like that happens, you can use something like npm audit fix to fix those vulnerabilities with the npm packages, but then test it first on the test server, well, locally of course, but then on the test server to see how it handles in a production environment before going to the production server. And a test server, even though it's in production, it's usually a cheaper version because it doesn't have users or anything like that, so it doesn't require as many resources. So if you're able to create a test server, that's ideal. If you don't have that option for whatever reason, then at least test it locally, then push it, fingers crossed, make sure everything works. Make sure you have a backup of the original version using Git or something like that, to like the original version with the older dependencies, even if they have the vulnerabilities at that time. That way, if something breaks, there's breaking changes between some of the packages, then you can at least go back and figure it out. But definitely make sure that you have backups. So after soon you'll finish Colt's data structure course, and you learn stuff like linked lists and heaps and trees and graph. How do you get benefit? How do you use these things in real life? Well, a lot of those things are going to be used in interviews. So if your goal is to get a job, then having knowledge of those data structures and various algorithms is going to be really helpful in the interview process. But there are situations where like understanding things like big O notation and how fast something runs is helpful, because if you're writing code and some, let's say you have the option to either just use a nested loop, or if you could refactor that nested loop, which is n squared by the way, in terms of big O notation, which is slow, you have the option to refactor it a different way using another algorithm to make it faster. Then obviously you're going to want to go with the other one. So if these are things that you're learning in that course, like how to optimize your code and make it run faster, and which data structures are appropriate for storing which kind of data and accessing data, etc., then that's where that would come into play and link your real life developer duties. Which operating system would I suggest for beginners? Mac, if you can afford a Mac. If not, then go to Linux. And then I haven't used Linux in a while. I used to use Ubuntu, and I thought it was great. Other people may have opinions about other ones, so it'd be worth checking out which Linux distributions are appropriate for what you're trying to do. But Ubuntu works fine. Apparently, it has some bloatware or whatever on it, like basically software that's installed by default that you don't necessarily need. I didn't experience any issues with anything like that, but you might want to read up on it. So if you're on a PC and you don't want to use Windows, which I would not recommend for programming necessarily unless you absolutely have to use it, then Linux would be my next suggestion. Otherwise, if you can afford it, Mac is what I use, and I really love it. You can hear my cat. That's funny. I can't hear it. I just tune the cat out. Some job title for beginners to search for. Also, somebody said that ParrotSec Linux is awesome, so you might check it out. And then I know Mint or whatever it is, somebody I know uses that one. They like it. Here's another one saying that Manjaro KDE is really smooth. So yeah, when it comes to Linux, you have all different types of options, so definitely reach out to those communities and test out some of the ones that people are sharing here. Okay, so job title for beginners to search for. It just depends on what you're trying to do. I mean, basically, you're just looking for entry level or junior developer jobs. Those are like the kind of preface, and then front end developer, full stack developer, back end developer, JavaScript developer, things like that. If you want to get specifically into, like database administration, things like that. What's the other thing that's DevOps? You can look at that kind of stuff. But if you're talking about coding, then more or less you're just going to look for front end React developer, or front end developer, junior front end, or junior React developer. Just any combination of those keywords is fine. Someone said JS array iteration. Not sure if that's a question or a comment. Anyway, that's it. We're going on almost an hour. Guys, definitely like and share this if you want to support the channel, but also check out the Super Chat, which I just got added today. Thank you again to Danny for supporting me with Super Chat. That's very much appreciated. And to answer the very last question here, what course should I learn after Web Dev Bootcamp by Colt? You should learn the Code with Node course. It's free. It's a follow-up course. You'll find it easy to transition into. And it is, also, as Razvan said, topratedtechcourses.com. Code with Node's not on there because it's a free course, but you can look for it on Udemy just by searching Code with Node, Learn by Doing, and it's got a picture of some girl in front of a computer, and it's got my name as the instructor. Thank you everyone for hanging out. Appreciate it, and catch you all next time.